Hi guys, Darth Deuces here, back in our Star Wars: The Black Series figure review, taking a look at a release from last year. It is Jecki Lon from the Acolyte wave, and Jecki was one of the last of the Jedi from that show that I actually was missing. The only one left is Yord. I don't know if I'll ever get him, to be honest. I have him in TVC, so I don't really need him in Black Series, but if I can ever get him for stupid cheap, I will. But I finally got Jecki. It's one I wanted to get eventually, and I got it for a pretty good price, like around 50% off. I got it for cheaper than a full price TBC figure, so I figured at that price, you can't really go wrong. So I decided to grab her, and I'm glad I did. It's a pretty solid figure, like all of the Acolyte Jedi figures have been, to be honest. But let's take a closer look. It is cool to get a new kind of alien in the Black Series. I had to look it up because I had no idea. She's a Thelene human hybrid, so she's half and half. Thelene if you're familiar with the Darth Phobos character from Force Unleashed, Darth Phobos is a pure Thelene. And I think one of the dancers in the Return of the Jedi Jabba's palace scenes is also Thelene, or Thelene human hybrid, something like that. But yeah, pretty neat, unique looking head sculpt. I think the head and the face print looks pretty good. I like the little orange markings with the speckles there. That's cool. Then the horns that are actually kind of sharp. I wasn't expecting them to be as sharp as they are. But you got the horns there, and then the hair looks pretty good. And they did put a very subtle little bit of a wash in the hair to bring out the details a little bit, which is pretty cool. And she does have her Padawan braid as well there, which is nice. She does feature a soft goods Jedi robe, which all of the Acolyte Jedi figures have, which is really nice. I'm glad they all have this. It does have the hood just stitched to the bottom to have it sit. I suppose you could cut the string there and have a hood, but I assume it's way too large and wouldn't look that good, so I probably wouldn't recommend it, but it's something you can do if you want. But the material's nice. It's similar to all the other Acolyte Jedi robes, and it sits pretty well on the figure for the most part. They're definitely some of the better ones that they've used. But to take a better look at the figure, we will remove that. And take a look at the rest of the figure. Now, to my knowledge, she is 100% new sculpt, which I guess she has to be because she's younger. She is shorter than all the other characters. So I do believe she is 100% unique sculpting. And it's pretty nice to get another Padawan. We don't usually get Padawans in the Black Series. You have like your Padawan Obi-Wan from Phantom Menace, your Padawan Anakin from Attack of the Clones, your different versions of like Clone Wars era Ahsoka, and then that's about it, to my knowledge. So it is a nice kind of change of pace and adds a bit of variety to the shelf to have another Padawan there. The yellow bits here, or at least on the top, is actually an overlay, I do believe, over the rest of the torso sculpt, which is kind of cool. Adds some realism to the layering that would be layers of fabric in real life, so that's cool. I like the different colors. You get the lighter color, then the darker goldish almost color, then kind of this like orangish brownish around the collar there, which is pretty nice. She does also have the orange and brownish sort of speckles on her hands there as well, which is cool. The right hand is sculpted in a pretty standard C grip pose. The other one a little more open, but can still grip accessories if you want her to. In the left, so that's nice. I like the belt. The green sash underneath the belt adds a little bit of more color, which is cool. And the sculpted detail is pretty nice. You do have a fair amount of the buckles and buttons are painted gold, which is cool. And it's hard to see, but the belt buckle does have the Jedi logo sculpted on there, which is cool. Then you have the lower tunic. It's just a plastic that's cut at the sides to allow it to move out of the way, although it's not quite as pliable as I was expecting it to be, but it's probably fine. Then the legs are pretty standard, light brown pants with your light brown boots. A wash on the boots would have been nice to make them look a little more worn, but otherwise, pretty good looking figure. I don't really have much in the way of complaints. Looks pretty much like the character did from the show. Articulation wise, pretty standard Black Series. You got a joint in the base of the head as well as the base of the neck. It doesn't really look down a whole lot, a little bit. Only looks up a little bit. Not a ton of pivot, to be honest, just mainly rotation. You do have hinges at the shoulders. They go about that far. They go down, they rotate. There is a butterfly joint in there. It moves a little bit, nothing too crazy, but it does move a bit. You can see there. You have a single hinge at the elbow that does go past 90 degrees, which is cool, rotation. And then you have swivels at both wrists. The right wrist has an up and down hinge. if you can get it to move. It is kind of tough to get these joints to move when they're inside of sleeves like this, but there's an up and down hinge on the right side and then in and out at the left side there. A dumbbell joint at the torso, goes back a bit, crunches forward an okay amount, decent amount of pivot, honestly, and then rotation. Your ball joints spread out about that far. She can kick it about that far. It is limited a bit by this lower plastic tunic, but not too bad. Then it does have the indentation at the ball joint in there, so it does allow for a little bit of shifting at the hip. And then you have a single hinge at the knee that goes past 90, that rotates there, as well as a boot cut. And then you have a hinge at the ankle that doesn't actually go up a whole lot. And then it does go down a fair amount, and ankle rocker for pivot. So pretty good articulation. Maybe not as good as some other figures, maybe, but no, sufficient for me, anyways, for what I'm going to do with the figure. I just didn't realize that till now. There's a little bit of a stain on the sleeve there. I don't know if that's from the robe or just some paint got smudged there. It's a little unfortunate. Anyways, not a big deal. Accessory-wise, pretty much like all the other Acolyte Jedi in the Black Series, like the soft goods cloak, obviously. And then you do get her lightsaber. It is a unique sculpt for her. Nice green blade. The hilt there with brown in the middle. And then some gunmetal-y painted parts at the end and at the pommel there. Looks nice. You can remove the blade and you can plug that onto her belt on the side there. And that looks good. Works well. But I will be displaying her, all the Jedi from this with the lightsabers ignited, so plop that in. And then she grips the lightsaber fairly well. Looks good. And you can, I'm sure you can get two-handed posing pretty easily with this. Yeah, there we go. Pretty easy to get her in a two-handed pose, so that's nice as well. It looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. So not too much else to talk about except for doing some comparisons. I'm going to throw her robe back on real quick, just because I have all my other Jedi with their robes on. Okay, give her a lightsaber. All right, let's get her right there. So for comparisons, like I said, I have most of the other High Republic Acolyte Jedi. So here she is with her Master Soul, and they look pretty good together. And then here she is with Indara, who I don't think they were ever actually in a scene together because she died before they could be in a scene together, but they still look good together regardless. And here she is with Venestra, who I actually don't know if she shared a scene with her or not. There's Venestra. And there is Kalnaka. Again, they all look really good together. All share the same aesthetic, so it makes sense, but pretty nice. And then lastly, for fun, another High Republic Jedi. Here she is with, or I guess Dark Jedi now, Dagan Jira, who I'd like to see us get more High Republic Jedi that use the aesthetic that Dagan Jira has, the more ceremonial or dress robes. It'd be super cool to get some Jedi from the books like Avar Kriss and Elzar Mann and Stellan Gios and that sort of thing. That'd be super cool. But overall, Jecki's a pretty solid figure. I have no major complaints. If you are a fan of the Acolyte figures, if you just like collecting cool Jedi in the Black Series, then definitely one I recommend. Definitely one of the more unique ones because of her species and just the fact she's a Padawan. We don't get many of those, and that she's a bit younger, so she's a little shorter. You know, adds a bit of variety to the shelf. Definitely recommend getting her on a sale. It should be pretty easy. I got mine for pretty cheap in this day and age anyways. I imagine she'd be pretty easy to find cheap. So for cheap, I would definitely recommend picking this one up. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. May the force be with you.